Welcome to this, I guess I'll call it an emergency video, and I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who were dealing with the exercise in Microsoft Expression Web where there is a very drastic difference in how the information in the book goes versus what's on your screen. I apologize for that. I'm going to assume right now, at the risk of sounding confusing, and I will have explained this to individual students prior to this video, what you need to do the tutorial 7 video, and at the risk of confusing a lot of people, let me pull this up real fast and show this to you. Start with this particular tutorial 7, creating tables. Follow along with page 369 as it says right here in your book, and then when you get to, and just follow along, and once you have done this portion of the exercises, you will have created in Expression Web a table that's very similar to this one. This is not very exact, it's pretty doggone close, but it talks about a racing roster of drivers and how many years and their town, their car, and all that. And you'll take that particular table and eventually you're going to put that in a brand new page. I'm going to assume that you have covered all this stuff in the book on your own, which is very self-explanatory, through page 404. What happens now when you get to page 404 in the tutorial, and I'll move past this so you can see it. Once you get past this table being created that I'm scrolling through right here, you'll get to page 403. Actually, I said 404, 403. It starts talking about layout tables, as in this situation, and I hope I'm not making you dizzy by scrolling through all these files right now. And it gets down to where people are being asked to do something with a task pane. And the problem is there is no task pane on Expression Web 3 or Expression Web 4, so it's not necessarily very clear. So rather than have students stress over this at the end of the semester, I've decided to rewrite this part of the explanation, and I can guarantee getting you through it. I've done this problem myself successfully with my method, and I'll show you my methodology, and that will get you through this exercise. So in a nutshell, if you're highly visual, what you'll do is to do the exercise as it appears in the tutorial, and then when you get to page EW404 in the tutorial, start with my video. What's going to happen is we'll be doing a layout of a page in your book, and I'll go ahead and show you this particular final product first so you'll see what we're heading toward. And if I go to the very end, you'll end up with a page that looks very similar to this one. It has the Rust River Raceway logo or picture at the top. It has some navigation buttons to links on the left side, and it has some text, a table that you've created already hopefully, and then a footer at the very bottom. And I'll show you how to get through that using a technique that I'm going to show you called layers. It's not exactly how the exercise itself says to do it, but because you have no other recourse, this will make it much easier for you. And again, I practiced this prior to doing this video, so I can give you a pretty good explanation of what's going on. We're going to create a brand new page that's going to have a setup like this one. Now, this is a very rough drawing, but right here across the top will be the header where the picture will go. The body of the document with text and table will go in this big box. There will be a footer at the bottom, and there will be a navigation list right here. To do that, we're going to create 4 items that are called layers. And I'll show you what the dimensions of these are now, and it will make more sense once you've actually utilized it. Once we've created these 4 layers, then we'll actually put the information into each layer, and that would be the image, the text and table, something called interactive buttons, and then finally a footer that will be there. So if you'll bear with me in going through this, I'll show you this stuff. And again, stop the video as necessary to make sure you're processing the information. So what's going to happen now, I'm going to go into Expression Web, and I'm going to create a brand new page. And I'll do that, and make sure, be really sure that it goes into the correct folder. So I'm going to go to File, New, and choose Page. And when I'm doing this with a laptop, sometimes I have to slide across very carefully. I'll do New Page, just accept the general HTML selections by default, click OK, and you got a brand new page, which I'll make sure I save under the name called Layout New. And what you're not seeing here is that I have another computer over on the side so I can keep up with what's going on when I create this video. So save as. Again, be extremely sure that you're inside the tutorial, and I'm making sure of that with mine. So I'm going to call it Layout New, sort of like the book does, .htm, and that will save it in the correct place. Don't worry about putting them in alphabetical order, it doesn't matter. But there's Layout New right there. There's your table called Data New, which you should have already done. Now what I'm going to do here is to create 4 layers. A layer basically is just a placement. It's basically a box or a div where you can place text, and you can manipulate these around. Sometimes they can even be on top of each other. But again, in the interest of time, I won't go through a huge explanation. To get to this, we go to the word Insert. Well, in fact, I'll go better. Forget that. Let me go over to Panels. And there is a panel that is called Layers. Now, I'm going to uncheck it right now just so you'll be able to see it. Just go to Panels, find the word Layers, which is about halfway down the list. Once you click Layers, in my particular case, it's over here near the Apply Styles. You'll have to look at it because in my case it only shows the little tabs. But if you click on Layers, and hopefully you're seeing this, there are 2 little buttons here, one where you can insert a layer and one where you can draw the layer. In the interest of time, I'm going to suggest very strongly that you draw the layer. So just click right here. Trust me implicitly, a little drawing arrow will appear on the screen, and all you have to do here is just draw a box. I don't care how big or how small it is, just draw a box because we'll change it. And what will happen right here is you'll see something that may be hard to see on your screen. It says div # layer 1, and then over here in the layer panel you'll see layer 1. I'm going to double click that and change that name to the word header. It's just nice to have a name for it, and just hit enter. I just double clicked it. You can right click and rename it if you want to, but just double click it and you get the word, and just type the word header right there and you'll have it. Now the dimensions, and I'm just telling you these dimensions because I know what has worked already. The dimensions for this, I'm going to make these a little bit larger hopefully so they'll be easier to see on the screen. For the header, we're going to have a left value of 0, a top value of 0, a width of 875 pixels, and a height of 150 pixels. I'll show you what this means after I've made the changes. So going back to Expression Web, I'm going to right click on the word header and choose the bottom option that says Positioning, which tells me, or tells Expression Web, where I want to position this particular box or layer. I want the left to be 0, the top to be 0. What that basically means is that 0, 0 is the upper left hand corner of my Expression Web screen. I want the width right here to be 875 and put px after that for pixels with no spacing. Keep the words and the numbers right together. The height will be 150 px. I'll hit OK to confirm that. If you make mistakes by chance, you can always go in and right click and choose Positioning and make these changes as you need to. Alright, that's going to be the first layer in my document. And again, just to give you a perspective of this one more time, if I can make this a little bit smaller, I'll see if I can make this work. You're going to have a situation like this where we'll have 4 boxes or 4 layers at some point. The first one is the one going across the top of your screen right here. For the next layer that I'm going to call left column, that's where the links are going to land to the different pages. I want the left column to be 0 for the left, top 150, width 143, height 625. Going back to Expression Web, I'm going to draw the layer. Again, I'm choosing the little icon to the right, draw a layer, click on it. Draw it somewhere outside this green area. Doesn't matter how big, just draw a box. And it's now called Layer 1 because I named the other one earlier. I'm double clicking it, and I'm going to name this one Left. Right click on it and choose Positioning. And again, we'll recall these numbers. The left position is 0. Top is going to be 150. That's just saying basically that I'm going to the left none and down 150. You'll see where it positions the box in just a moment. The width is going to be 143. I think I wrote right there. I'll double check it. 143 px. And the height is going to be, I think I wrote 625 right there. I'll double check these figures in a moment. I'll click OK. And again, notice where this one landed. If I click on header, I've got that top box. If I click on left, I've got the other box. I'll check these dimensions one more time and make sure I have these correct. 143, 625. So I'll go back and look at these. 143, 625, and if they're not perfectly positioned, we can always move these down if we need to. There's nothing wrong with just taking the box, and you can resize it like I'm doing here. You can move it down with your arrows, whatever you need to do to make it work. Totally unimportant. You just make it work for yourself to see what happens. Again, you can always go back and look at these positions and make sure that everything has been done properly here. And with this exercise, don't worry about it being super perfect. We're okay. Alright, for the third layer, that's going to be the one called body. The left is 143, the top is 150, the width is 732, the height is 770. I measured these ahead of time, and that's how I knew these, because I played around with this document just to get you through this exercise for the semester. So right now, just trust me. So again, I'm going to draw a layer. I'll put that box somewhere outside of the two I've drawn, just a box. I'll change the name of layer 1 by double clicking it and call it body. Don't get this mixed up with the tag. That's just what your book called it. And I'm going to choose positioning there by right clicking. And again, it's got the current locations and size. That left top, by the way, if you're wondering, that left and top is talking about position of the upper left hand corner of this box. So it's going over, may be hard to see here, it's going over right now 210 pixels to the left and down, even though it says top, 200, and that's what the dimensions are. We're going to change these so that the left is going to be 143, and you can put px after if you want to. The top is 150, the width is 732 pixels px, and the height is 770 px. Hit OK, and you have a big box right there. So again, here's my left one, here's my right one, my header rather, here's the body. We can move things around as we need to move them down. That's not a problem. I'll just adjust these, and this will change dimensions. Again, don't be alarmed about this at the moment. Everything should be fine. Finally, we're going to put something at the very bottom of the screen, and I'm going to go ahead and draw that little box just in this white area. I'm drawing it very small because I can change it later. And those dimensions, by the way, I'll change that name by double clicking it and change the name to footer. Pardon me. And what I want for the footer is 143, 944. Yes, the page will scroll down quite a bit. Width 732, height 74. So I'll do those modifications real fast. In fact, I'm changing these on mine to make it a little easier to read. So again, here I go. I choose footer, right click it, choose positioning, and that's that little green box way down at the bottom of the screen, which I hope you can see on this video. 143 for the left, the top will be 944, the width is 732 pixels or px, the height 74. I'm trying to match as closely as I can what the book originally had for you. And there are those dimensions. And again, if you see some overlapping here, you can always move these layers around if you need to. That's going to give us the 4 positions for the information that we're going to put on this web page. So now we can actually go into, and I'll show you some things in your PDF files, and I'll also show you some things that are in, I'm stalling a little bit because I'm looking at stuff on multiple screens. I'll also show you stuff that is something that I made up myself. Alright, if you wanted to open up possibly tutorial set 5 from what I gave you, you can do that. Again, I wouldn't go with exact precise directions right here because now you're sort of under my control, so to speak. And I think it will be much easier if you just follow my directions. But I'm going to give you a point of reference in case you're a very highly visual person. What we're going to do now is take those positions, those 4 layers that are on my page now. They call it a layout table. I'm calling it layers. And now what we'll do is we'll add the logo, the picture of the racetrack, and it's called river.gif. We're going to put that in there. So to do that, we could actually drag it in, but I'll do what the book says here. And I'm going to do, in fact, I'm just going to drag it in there. It's easier. Click on River, and if you see up in the corner of your folder list, it's a little tiny picture of it. I'm going to drag river.gif into this header area. I'll let go of it. You might see the little arrow with a little attachment to it. It will give me alternate text, and I'm going to call it, as your book does, Rust River Raceway logo for the visually impaired student. I'll click OK, and that image lands there. If by chance the image took too much space, the layer box would grow to accommodate it, and you may have to adjust your dimensions accordingly. And mine has slid over slightly in order to accommodate it. And don't worry about the positioning and centering and being pretty, just get it in there just for the sake of the assignment. Next, we'll insert some text in the body of the document, and that's on, if you must have a reference, it's page 411. I'm going to open up Season, which is a page, just has information. Again, the reason for these extra little pages is just to give you some copy and paste references. Select everything by using either Edit, Select All, but I tend to use keys right here. You can use Control and the letter A if you want to. That will select everything so that you can copy it. Copy that. You can close this page if you want to and go back to Layout New, and then this body area, make sure it's body, and body will be selected over here in the layer list. You're going to choose Paste right there, and that will wrap the information in there for you. Now it looks like it's cut off, but again, remember, this is a wider page. It's just not displaying everything on the screen for you. There's your information so far. And I'll go ahead right now. The book will say to do this eventually. We'll go ahead and make this heading, Rust River Raceway welcomes you. We'll make that a heading 1 style by just clicking anywhere there and then choosing heading 1. And you'll have that already taken care of. That's done later on in your handout, but this will be easier. I'm going to click after the word $1,000 value and hit the enter key so we have another paragraph box there. And at this point, we'll insert the data table that you've already done. Again, if you need a point of reference, go to the bottom of page 411 to copy and paste the data table. That table was under Data New, which you should have done earlier. And if I click anywhere in that table, just somewhere, doesn't matter, you can go to the table menu and choose Select Table, which will select everything, including the caption. And you can then do a copy and paste for that one as well. So just right click and choose Copy. Go back to Layout New, and where that little marker is, just go to Paste. Your table will land in place right there. And if you want to go in and go to Table Properties, you certainly can do that. The book has you doing that on page 4, bottom of page 412. You can go to Table Properties, and they've said to take the Collapse Table Border and click on it, and that would just give you a little more perspective there. So now you have a portion of this page already done. We now have the logo in place with the layer, and we have the text in the table inside the layer as well. The next thing that will happen is we'll create some links for this particular page. We do that on page 450. Well, in fact, let's go ahead and do the footer first. I'm sorry for sounding flippant, but I'm having to rush under this under a time clock. If you go to page 414, you can now type in the footer. And on the bottom of page 414, I'll try to get this visual reference for you so you'll have it. Sorry for the quick scrolling in case you're a little dizzy with this. There's where we format the first line as an H1 heading, page 413 that we just did. And on the bottom of page 414, here's the footer information. We're going to type the phrase, step 2, contact the Rust River Raceway at it's hard to say this without getting tongue-tied, Rust Raceway at dev1.net. We'll just type that into the web page in the footer layer. So I'm just clicking right there. And again, what you're not seeing here, I don't have it memorized. I just have the advantage of looking at a second computer while I'm creating this video. My main thing with this whole exercise choice for a lot of you is just to make sure you have the exposure to tables from scratch. If I just click anywhere in there, I can center it. And again, depending on what you want to do, I'm not being super strict on this. You can bold it if you want to, even though the book didn't say to do it. That will take care of the footer. So 3 of the 4 layers are taken care of. The body has that text in there in the table. The header has the picture. The footer, at the very bottom, of course, hence it's called footer, has the text. The only thing missing is this left portion, and that's where we're going to put the links. Think Blackboard, where all the little links to homework and grades and course tools and all that are located. We're going to use the left portion to do this part. And this should be a fairly straightforward exercise from this point onward. So if you go down to tutorial set 6 and open up that 6th document, you should be home free from this point onward, but since I already have the video going, I'll go ahead and give you that information. Let me scroll up to the top and get this. I think I'm in the correct place. Actually, it's at the bottom of tutorial 5. I apologize if I misled any of you. Let me go to 5 and go down to the bottom and see where it is. Yeah, the interactive button starts on, bear with me, on page 415, right after the footer was done. Okay, and you can start pretty straightforward from this point onward. You can go to insert, go to the left cell of the layout table, which is the one that's empty, and we click Insert Interactive Button. Again, you should from now on be able to get through the rest of the exercise pretty easily. I'm going to do a little checkpoint right here by clicking Expression Web, and I'm going to go ahead and preview this in the browser with the F12 key, which will ask me to save it. And so far so good, everything seems to be working out. If by chance your layers were to overlap on each other, mine have not, you can always take those layers and go back to your Expression Web page and make some editing if you need to. But I'm clicking right here, and it says to do Insert Interactive Button. So I'm going to go in there. I'm on page 415 of your handout, and I will go to the Insert menu. I'm clicking inside that layer called Left. Go to Insert Interactive Button. And these are just some built-in ones that Expression Web has for you, so you don't, so the link is maybe a little bit easier. It'll look hard at first, but it's really not. Step 3, you would click the button tab, which I already have on the screen. Step 4 on your handout, you're going to go down to the style that's called Braided Column 5. There are various styles for the buttons that you can see there. We're going to choose Braided Column 5. Staying right here on this screen, if you scroll down to page 416, you'll click on the word text, that little area, and you're going to change those words that say button text to the words upcoming races. And we're going to do a link right there. There are several pages in this folder that you have, and one of them is called races.html. And on that same page it says to specify a target page for the button link, you click the link box and type races.htm. You got to spell these correctly for them to work, and then click OK. And what will happen, you have automatically a link right there. Now it looks a little off track because it looks like the little symbol is covering the word upcoming, and the word race is not spelled as race. It really does have races in there, I promise, but it's just not displaying everything. So in order to edit that, we just simply double click. Now your book does something a little bit differently here. What they're going to do is they're kind of mixing their processes here. You're going to have several more buttons here. It tells you to do one too many, and I'm going to do a little differently. I'm going to go ahead and edit this button by double clicking this, and the way I can edit this, I simply go to the image tag at the top, the little tab rather, and change the width of this from 100 to 150. You can scroll through it like this, or you can type 150. What that does, and you look at the top of the screen, it will show you that it will make it a little more spread out for you. Click OK, and that one works. If you wanted to test this link out, you could hover over it with your mouse, hold down the Control key and click your mouse, and it will take you to the races.html page. And just go back where you were. Just a good way to test the link out. Alright, I'm just going to click away from this now, click off of it, and if you want to put another one in there, let me see if I can do this. I'm sorry, yeah, you can do, I know why they did this now, and I apologize. I'm going to back up on this, and hopefully you didn't do the same thing. I'm going to undo what I just did and start over. I apologize. They have a reason for doing it this way. Let's do this interactive button one more time. Insert interactive button. We'll choose that style, Braided Column 5. Change the text to upcoming races. The link is races.html. We'll change the image width since we know what's going to happen. Well, in fact, I'll leave it like this. Let me just click OK right now. Now what the book is saying to do, for a good reason, is to hold the Shift Enter key and do it several times. That's going to give us some extra buttons to put in there. I don't know why we do it this way. Let's go ahead on page 417 and let's edit that button. Just double click on it. Change the image so that it says 150, so it spreads it out. Go ahead and click OK right there. That will give you an interactive button. Now, we're going to do several more buttons, and this is the end of tutorial 5, set 5, and now if you go to the last one, number 6 in your packet, it will give you the other interactive buttons that you can do. And what they're suggesting doing right here is to do a copy and paste. I'm at the top of document number 6, page 418. If you go in and you want to click this and choose copy, it will copy that button. Then you can click down here in these areas where we did Shift Enter earlier, and we can just do a series of pasting. Again, I'm not worried about how perfect things look right now. Just make sure you have them in there. And we now have 5 buttons. Now they'll all look alike right now, but what we'll do is we'll go in now and we will edit each of those buttons. Page 419, just double click where you edit that. We're going to change this one, and again I'm on page 419, step 1. I'll show you this visually so that you'll know what I'm doing right here and you won't be completely lost. I've copied and pasted these buttons, and now we're going to change the second button. So instead of saying upcoming races, it will now say drivers rosters. Look at step 2 of what I have right here, and this routine will start making sense to you if you just follow the directions. So I'm going to go to my Expression web page. I'll change that to driver rosters, typing that in, and see the image size of 150 because I copied and pasted it earlier. It's going to be nice and neat. The link for this one, step number 3, is the web page called rosters.htm. You got to spell these correctly. Click OK. Now we have that link done. The third one, this is step 5. Double click that image which says upcoming races. We're going to change that name to the third entry, which is called standings. And the link to the page, standings.htm. Done. We repeat this in step 9 for the last 2 buttons. Instead of upcoming races, the fourth one is now going to say division rules. And the link is called divisions.htm. And the final one that we'll edit is going to say, our sponsor. Step 9 again on your page, on page 419 of your handout, of your PDF document. And this will be sponsors.htm. And we now have the 5 links. Believe it or not, we're in business. I'm not worried about the rest of you basically have done the page here. So if you want to go ahead and hit F12 to preview it, it will ask you to save it. And because I've got all these interactive buttons in there, it's going to ask to embed those files to this page. So just click OK with all of them selected. And now you should be able to preview the page and test your links. Upcoming races, when I click on it, goes to races. Driver rosters goes to rosters. Standings go to standings. Click division rules. And whoops, I did something crazy there apparently. And our sponsors. Let me see what I did with division rules where I messed up on it. Go to division rules, and it's called, see, where did I make that mistake, folks? I wish you could tell. It's called rules. I wrote divisions. I made a mistake. You're hollering on the video, you made a mistake, Mike. You're right. There we go. And I'll update that. Save those embedded buttons. And let's try division rules again. Yep, got it right. So, got a nice page here that we did with layers. And hopefully that makes this assignment a little bit easier. Again, if you have questions, please contact me.